Hello, everybody, and happy Friday. Welcome to your end of the week lighting critique. We have a bunch of images to go through today. And we've also got some videos that we've got loaded up here in Sync Sketch. We've got, let me hop over back here. We've got our normal cast of characters. We also have Jorge who's joining us. I think this is your first time because you've been busy with work, you said? Yep. All right, all good. So like I said, we've got, I tell you what, we'll start with Aaron's videos just because we have them here. And we'll actually, let me actually, if it's okay with you guys, I'm going to go through the videos first, just because I want to get those kind of out of the way so I'm not like flipping back and forth a lot. So Aaron, this is your latest here. The rim looks a lot better, makes a lot more sense now. It feels very natural to what's happening through here. Let me take a look here. One thing that's really dumb, and this is kind of, this is our mistake when we were doing it, but I can see your shadow outside the door until it opens, and it might be worth it to render one frame with her turned off and just paint her out there and then allow that to kind of step in as she goes forward. It's like a common thing that happens in animated films is like they just like leave her just off camera a little bit and then like her shadow will cast in, so you gotta kind of fake that sometimes. Not that we designed it that way, but that's just kind of how it goes. I'm looking at this, and one of the things I was thinking about, I think, and I'm going to kick myself for saying this, but after going through Diana's Aces workflow on things and looking at the lighting setup of this, I actually think it could benefit you a little bit to, if you don't have this set up in an Aces environment, because we're depending so much on strong exterior light to bounce around the space that I do think that having that extra secondary bounces would really help you out. Diana, what do you think?
I agree, but I agree all the time. I think Aces helps.
and I wouldn't be suggesting that if people didn't just go through it and it's a pretty easy setup for the scene, because I do want to feel more kind of more bounce, more fill, more secondary light coming up through the space. And so I was gonna encourage you to put like an area light here and bounce it around, but I do think it would be better handled naturally by the renderer. So if you're open to it, I would have you. Actually, Diana, would you mind sending it to Aaron?
Yeah, just let me know where it's available. I'll go through it.
Yeah. We like I said, we were still in development. You're getting like the beta test version of it, so we haven't quite released.
Am I gonna have to be like changing a bunch of my lights to do this? Is that what?
It's not. It will require some tweaks to the lights, but it's mostly about changing the way that the shaders are being processed.
Okay.
Yeah, it'll require more. You might have to delete a couple lights, and then adjust the values on some lights. But
yeah.
But I'll send it.
Yeah.
All right, great.
I would say let's do that for next iteration, because and then just see what that naturally gives us, because like seeing the brightness hitting this and then like not quite feeling its effects in the surrounding, I think
Yeah, that's actually toned down in the AOV, so like that was really blown out.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Just naturally, so okay.
Yeah, because I think we can. Yeah, I think we can. I think it can really benefit this scene. So I'll leave that one for there. But I do think that the adjustments that you made are spot on. I love that she's now like the light that she's stepping into feels much more natural. I do think there could be a little bit more fill on her, but again, we'll see what naturally that gives us. But I think you've definitely hit the notes from the last iteration now. But I do think that this workflow will help out a lot. But like, because this rim looks really good. Feels very natural.
Okay.
Cool. All right. So Emma, let's go through this one real quick. So I think this is great. I think this is such a lovely pop of light as the character steps into the light here. It is a little omnipresent on the character. It's so tough because they're blocky. I just want to feel it more like. You know what it might be? It might be that we're getting too much of the warm light here, like all the way out here. And it should just feel more like the blue lights on them and allow this light to drop off a little more suddenly. But I do think that this is looking really good. I think the knife, I think the front side of it could actually come down a little bit and just like really read the edge. I think what's happening outside the window looks great. It looks very much like Arrival. Looks like those weird aliens out there. But I also know, I also know that you've got a couple stills here. And same, but yeah, so that was what I was saying about this one, is just more rim. Also on this one, like it's a little bit too uniform, the light on the character, and I really want to feel it more that it's above him or her looking down at the character, and not so much kind of all around. It's good that we have some bounce in there, but I really want to feel it more like a rim when the character is directly underneath it like that. And then that, and then for Alfredo, we'll start with this. So we've got your reference. See, now I'm flipping back and forth anyway. We've got your reference, and the one big thing that I was looking at for the reference on this was just how much bump and detail there was in the skin on some of these shots. And I'm wondering, and I know it's a different style for yours, but I'm wondering, but we're like missing some of that in here, and it's mostly in the bump value. So I'm wondering if you would be open to adding a little bit of the bump in there as well. Now, we were just looking at this because Diana actually has a very not as similar, but also kind of like an interrogation type scene, and we were looking at some reference to that. And one of the things to consider is you've got this very like dark background, and that's all well and good, and that's great. I would also be willing to maybe push it more into a non-skin color palette, maybe blue, maybe green, to allow the skin values to even pop even more as she steps into the light. I would also, the light itself feels a little neutral, and I'm wondering if like you could tell a story a little bit based on the color of that light too. Is this like a fluorescent light? Is it a tungsten light? I would challenge you to maybe push a little more color into that as well, because like you can see the rim that's happening on this character here is pretty neutral. Additionally, with this character, if we're just looking at the first frame as an introduction to the shot, I would kill this light on his back. I really just want him to be kind of like maybe just feel his outline a little bit more, because I don't really get a sense that this is a person tied up. When I first started looking at it, I thought maybe these were like snakes or something. Like it just doesn't fully read as a character, and I almost it's partially the camera position because we can't see his face and he just feels like a lump. But I would tone him down a little bit and just make, because like I don't feel like and like maybe previous shots will help us out with that. But since we probably can't adjust the camera or the animation, I would just kind of tone it down a little bit. I think the shaping is good on her. I'm wondering if, like, depending on the line that's being delivered, if we can play with a little more bounce light coming up underneath her and make it more a little bit about the underlighting, because it's like we have the top light coming down, they would hit the ground or whatever surface is nearby and bounce up underneath her a little bit. So I'm wondering if that would play in as well. So those are my thoughts there. All right, cool. So let's Diana, let's hop into yours next. So we've got this is the latest, right? Because I know, yeah, let me double check. Because I know I think I overwrote the old one with your new one.
Looks like it.
Yeah, I think so. Just double check. Let's just bring in the old one just to be safe. Make sure it's different. Yep.
You know, when you A/B them, I think it's bigger difference, but.
Oh, maybe it's not. Let's see.
You know,
A/B.
when you show me one of them, I can't tell.
It's totally, yeah, no, that's totally normal. I thought I could have swore I brought it in. Maybe I didn't. Yeah, that one is. Sorry, I did have the old one up.
Cool.
Yeah, no, that's a nice little adjustment there. So you added some more bump to the background.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. Yeah, because that was the other thing I brought in. I thought this reference from Tristan was really nice. I thought that was really beneficial to kind of see how the specs really hit these little bumps, and it's cool because you think about it's hard to tell in this image, but the light is coming in from probably this way, the screen right side, because it's hitting it's like the iris thing. It's like hitting the opposite side. Yeah, I think you could push. I think you can push the specularity on there even a little more, and the bump in the spec a little bit more.
Yeah.
Just again, because the more so in the black value, like you can play up that area is a very I always like whatever the opposite of matte paint is, satin, I guess satiny. But I think the character looks really good. The eyes do make sense to me. There is a line or something here on her skin. I don't know.
It's just her collarbone bone. But
Yeah, that's tricky because it's like, ugh. So it's like it's just the ability to see the subsurface more in some parts and not by the. Ugh.
But yeah, right above it is like kind of dark. I'll look at it.
Yeah, I would think, because I think that this value is good. I think it's more about warming up the neck a little bit, maybe.
Yeah.
But I think that's looking really good. You may want to also add a little bit of texture to the tabletop too, just because it's taking up a lot of screen real estate down here. It's probably like 15-20%. So just getting a little bit more, just like a little something in there, depending on the surface that you want to make. Because it's kind of smooth right now, like a marble countertop, and I feel like it would be more grittier than that. Like there may be some more scratches, like knife marks. You can kind of see some stuff in here, but if it added more of a tactile nature to it.
Yeah, both the wall and the table have bump and speck. But I feel like the way the light is hitting it, it's not hard to see it. But I'll work on doing more of it because I did introduce a little bit, but
Yeah.
what do you think about? Is it too warm? The table? That was the only kind of thought that I had.
Yeah, it is. If it was like a kitchen dinner scene, I'd be fine with it. But like, we want it to feel a little sterile in there.
Yeah.
I think that would be good. But like, I love there are some really great details. Like the spec hits on the chair look really good. Like I said, the detail that you've got in her hair, because I was worried about this stylized hair, that they would be able to get enough in there, but you've done a really good job of getting, like, it feels like I feel like I could reach out and touch it and know exactly what it would feel like. So that's really cool. And because this is actually like this can be a pretty tricky lighting scenario with it being straight down like this and not flattening out the character too much, but you're doing a nice job of getting that vertical, what I talk about, that vertical variation, the top down difference between her. Because like we talk an awful lot about it going left to right, but in this case, getting it top down is really good. See. Yeah. Sorry, I meant to look at the reference too, but yeah, this is I think like you like adding that little bit of spot that you did in the background is a subtle thing, but it's also really good. Like, is that because that is a lighting tweak too, right? That it's a little brighter, or is that just because of the shader?
No, yeah, it's both. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, it's just like, yeah. This is why A-Being is so good, because you can really see like the subtle tweaks that make it like you wouldn't look at this and be like, oh, that background's a little brighter, but like having that tweaked version is really good. So good job there. Let's see. So we've got Ashley, you're on as well. Oh, Ashley, did we have one today? Did I miss it?
I didn't have anything
today.
Okay. I'm just here.
No problem at all. We are very happy that you're here. I just want to make sure that I didn't miss anything. And it's like, yeah, it's, I worked with a guy. He's so funny. Like he would, so the rest of us would always be scrambling to get stuff together for rounds. And he would just like roll in sometimes and be like, hey, Vic, like, oh, I shouldn't say his name. Hey, sir, do you have anything to show today? And he's like, nah, man, just hanging out. Like he just shouted from the back of the room. And it was like, ugh, love you, buddy. All right, Jorge. So let's take a look here. So Jorge, I want you to kind of repeat something that you said before we went live. So I was commenting on your style. Like your images always look unique. They're always lots of saturated fluorescent colors. And it's been fun, like looking at some of your work. And can you talk a little bit about your background and like just talk about it before you started at the academy, like what your aesthetics were coming from. Oh, I think you might be muted. Oh.
Discord likes to change your input device.
Right? It's really tricky like that.
Yeah.
I can't hear you. No.
It's probably the headphones.
Yeah, like when you plug the headphones, it's like, do you want to change your input output setting?
Just figure it out for me.
I know. Let's see. No, sorry, I can't hear you.
Yeah, if you click the little arrow next to the mic sign. No, not mic. Jorge, if you look at your settings. And then
with new devices, the port will choose that first.
Yeah.
Oh.
That's great. I'll tell you what. I want you to pay attention to the critique too. I was going to tell you I was going to start critiquing, but yeah, because there's like the different microphones.
Yeah, where Mike is looking. Check those. Oh my God. Technical difficulties.
I tell you what.
I'm so sorry, guys. How about now?
Perfect.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. No. Hey, honest to God, no problem at all. It's Discord does a funny thing.
Headphones, Bluetooth headphones. Now the camera.
There we go. Yeah. There you go. Perfect.
There we go.
Yeah. I know, like stuff like that. Wants me to like take my headphones and just throw them out the window. Like I'm done.
No, so I come from concert lighting. I do concert EDM shows, and I grew up in theater as a lighting designer. And I've always had that comment from people and critiques of using a lot of. I like bold colors. I like really. It's very much a style that I've tried to develop over the last 10 years as a live event designer, and now I'm trying to learn how to translate that into animation. So yeah, that's about it.
That's so cool. Like it's so great to get that context because you can see it in your work, right? Like you can see that it's that you're designing spaces and then for characters to live within them, whether it's these octagon, geodesic dome cubes or whatever, or like yeah.
I just wanted to comment on this particular, after watching a little bit or seeing the character, I didn't know where to put her. And obviously it's a sci-fi scene and all that, futuristic scene. And I actually had made this set, or this like, icosphere, it is, a while back just as a Blender BJ animation.
Mm-hmm.
So this is actually a BJ animation that the icosphere goes down the tunnel and rotates. I didn't put the video up, but I meshed her to the icosphere, so as it's rotating, she's rotating inside of it. It'll be cool. But for the still, what I was wanting to get feedback on is I've been really having to learn photography. All of a sudden I'm very much a big picture kind of guy.
Mm-hmm.
Looking at the entire concert, at the entire venue, and learning how to home in on a single image and framing the character has been quite a bit of a challenge, actually.
Yeah. No, it's a totally different mindset. Because you're dealing in a medium where people are free to move wherever they want, free to go, free to like, and this is a very constrained, like we just live in a square or a rectangle, and you've got to craft your image based on that.
It's hard.
Yeah, for sure. I think what you do is hard. I would never be able to design an EDM show lighting. I think, like, because people are like, oh, like, hey, you're a lighting artist. Could you help me design the lighting in my kitchen? Like, nope. No, I cannot. I know, I will not do that for you. Sorry. But like, so one of the things that stood out to me was talking about this character being in this dome and circling and moving, and like it's a very kinetic piece, right? One of the things about the way that you've designed the lighting in each one of these is that, and I'm going to focus in on this one, is that the lighting would be pretty static on her throughout, like because it's kind of the same all the way down. I'm wondering if it wouldn't be better to create pockets of light for her to pass through as she's coming through, because that would be kind of cool, because then it's like the light comes in front of her, then wraps around her, then goes back behind her, and becomes this fading rim as new lights kind of come in. And so I'm wondering if you can't like, it's. I'm trying to think how to do that, because I like this like laser box that we're living in. Maybe make that further out, so maybe that's just like kind of a softer ambient light on her. But then additionally, there's smaller pockets of light that go through. But go ahead.
And in the animation, the blue and pink light are actually rotating. Those boxes are rotating.
Oh, okay.
Rotate, you see the rotation on her. So the pink light on her side is actually goes all the way around her.
Got it.
But again, this isn't an animation. This is
you think?
Should I make it as an animation? You know, I was really trying to focus on what shot to pick.
Okay.
What one still to pick, and then do the lighting around that.
Okay.
For sure. The whole thing moves. The pink lights move, she moves, and the green light moves as well as it's moving along. So she goes in and out of shadows.
Mm-hmm. Okay, cool. So with this image, a couple of things. Like if we're looking at it as like a still standpoint, one of the things is I would either shift her up or the camera down, because we have a lot of space between her and the top, and then we're kind of cutting off her feet a little bit at the bottom. So framing her a little bit more central would be good. I really love the way that the rims are hitting, like we're getting slashes of light on the dome around her, but then when we get to her, it's much more like ambient all around her. I would love to see more like rims and like allowing her to go the way that this can go darker in some of the middle areas. Let's think of that with her too. So allowing maybe like some of her areas of her to go a little bit darker, and then just using the saturated light to wrap around her. You had a reference sheet, so like, and even like the way that this kind of hits here, and then this is a little more broad in the front, but it's basically, and this one too is a little more broad, but like we're still getting smaller bits of bright areas that are like the specular things. And I think that we can, because we're not getting those small hits, right? It's very broad in the lighting. So I think really focusing on getting those small areas would be good.
I did add a lot of fill in around her.
Mm-hmm.
I added a couple lights, and I think that if I pull those away, it'll help do that.
Yeah, I mean, in a situation like this, I don't think. Well, if they're moving, I'm trying to think. So in a still, I wouldn't feel married to the idea that the lights that are on the scene are actually the ones that are affecting her, because they are so broad and they're so big, and they're kind of like that they will naturally on their own, they perhaps have a tendency to flatten her out a little bit, but using them as an inspiration for lights that are directly like linked to her would be cool. Like, you know, instead of having a big broad light like this, maybe a smaller spotlight that kind of comes in this way and just like hits her up over here. Like from an audience standpoint, you feel that those two things are connected, but and like, you know, also like this green light, we don't see the source of that as much. Like I see blue and I see pink, but like if there is an off camera green light coming in, like having that hit her a little bit too. But this is a unique project, so I definitely want to hear other people, Michael, Diana, Aaron, Ashley, if you guys, or Kat, if you guys have any thoughts too, I'd love to hear them.
Yeah, I have, you know, because conversation lighting too, like way back. And the first thing I think when I look at this is it's great, but I want to see some more of the stage also as like an environment as a whole.
Mm-hmm.
Not like in your face, but like maybe subtle, so that she's not over black, right? Because the black kind of gives it a dark hole feel. So maybe something that ties it all in together from a stage perspective as an environment, you know, like a simple thing. And I'm sorry, I'm looking at my tiny little iPad here, so I don't know if that's even in there. But you know, something really simple, nothing distracting, but something for it to bounce off of to give us a sense of volume that she's in. Just the first thought that came to mind.
Yeah, and that green light is it kind of doesn't make sense in this shot because but as she moves back, she goes really heavily into that green light, so she moves from her right side being completely orange to her left side being completely green as she's moving.
I really like the animation actor. I'm kind of invested to see it now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's the hard part about these animations, or thinking about like what I'm discovering is this whole animation versus still shot is just completely mind blowing.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I'm sure as an animation has a completely different look and feel to it, but looking at it as a still, I want to see her environment with those geometric shapes more. You know, I don't know if that would help the animation as well, or what's going on there. But for me, everything looks great, but she's over black, and so my eyes automatically go to the black areas and wonder what's in there. As a still image, might be totally different in your animation. I don't know, but I'd really love to see the animation.
Like it could even be like more boxes out in the distance too.
I like that.
You know, like it could be at a universe of these things.
She's inside a black box for sure. It's a black box with the lasers around it. Because the black box is metallic, so you see the reflections as it's moving. But again, there's lots of work to be done.
No, it's cool. The other thing that I pulled this image in just to show for reference for anyone working with Ashley, and because this was posted to the lighting chat, and I just like, and it's so, like I said, it's so fun to do these lighting challenges because I get to know, especially the characters, like you feel like you really get to know them, and what I'm finding is that anytime that you're able to get, like, again, skin value darker, a little bit of warmth in like some of the features. It allows the freckles to really come out. It allows the white dots to really come through. And then like getting this like cooler greenish rim on the side is really, really cool. And like, it's just really detailed and nice. And I think like, and if we can, yeah. And for this one, it would be more about continuing that through the garments and stuff. But I think this is a good value. And it would be nice if like she had that kind of like darker core and then all of these super neon lights, and it could be more strongly than this, but are kind of hitting her in this type of capacity, right? I think it'd be pretty cool. All right, cool. So let's see. Kat, you are here, and I'm sorry again we missed you yesterday. It was one of those things that I realized it felt like. I was gonna say this. It felt like because you're normally on, and I went and in my head I was like, I'm gonna go through the people who are not here, and I saw you, so I was like, oh, Kat, I probably already did Cats, so I think, and I missed one other one yesterday too. Oh. So yeah,
Don't worry about it.
Yeah, so I think the structure of this is looking really good. I can't tell. I'm still missing the reflections a little bit in the windows there. I don't know if you had a chance to look at that.
I did actually put the glossy rays on, so the far right pole, the reflection actually makes it look like it's deeper.
Oh, I see.
So, and then the middle pole, it's just not like, I don't know if it's just the way the camera angle
Might
is,
be the
but
angle.
It just kind
Okay.
of makes it look a little deeper, but it's not like a reflection to the left or right from what I've noticed. But I
Got
can
it.
try to tweak the camera or something.
It might just be that the reflection is pure, like it's so good because it's CG that that we're not able to distinguish the difference. So it might be just a matter of giving it a slight color tint one way or the other, because like glass, mirrors, whatever the case, they usually have like either natural film of junk on them, or like mirrors have like a thing on them that like makes them a little bit greener or bluer or something. So maybe it just be a matter of making it less contrasty, or making it like to make it feel like there's a little more dust on it. What are you guys thinking about the value on her? 'Cause I think
I can't tell again because I'm on the iPad, so I can't tell if her blacks are too, like in her hair, if they're too rich, too towards zero. You know what I mean?
yeah, it's the one thing that's tough about doing reviews for us versus like in a studio is that we because we're posting online, I don't always get a chance to see the full the full aspect ratio, because we're just looking at JPEG. So like, a lot of times we would take the gamma and crank it up, and we would see if like these values are in the super dark. So Kat, for yours, if you have your original file in Nuke, there's a gamma control at the top. Just try sliding that up a little bit and seeing if it looks like this, it's probably too dark. Is that what you're talking about, Michael?
Yeah, bringing the black bellies so close to zero that they flip out. Again, it could be JPEG compression. I'm not
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah, this is gonna do this in JPEG, so this isn't a really good indicator to us, but yeah, just seeing if there's a little bit of value in there.
That's the first thing I saw.
Yeah.
I think that may actually be a PNG, but I uploaded it to a photo editing program so I could put in the IDings. So maybe it compressed it when it downloaded it.
Yeah.
I know it made it a smaller file.
And
I had to upload it to a smaller version.
Yeah. It's just JPEGs, PNGs. Anything that limits the value range from 0 to 1 will, and anything that has compression on it will be like, oh, like we'll see something pretty dark and be like, it's black, it's fine,
Okay.
So yeah, that's a good point there.
Can I ask why there's no sunlight on that second pole? Like there's no reflection or anything else?
We were kind of limiting it more to this side to keep the focus going over here, like as if like there was something off camera casting shadow. So this is more just like, I mean, we could possibly have a little bit up there, but yeah, it was more about like filtering the eye down to the left. Unless you had a different reason, I'll let you answer. The only other thing, and again, this could even be accomplished in the editing software, is that I think you did a good job toning down here. I think this brighter point's looking good. I just wonder, let me not do that way. Just wondering if we can't go a little bit of a value difference between, maybe not. Like, so that there's a little bit more fall off from the top half of her to the bottom half, not in this bright area around her eye. Like, try not to let that go any brighter, but just by like pushing these values up a little bit. Pretty much the way that I just did it in the composite would be the way that I would do it. Like just grabbing the top half of her and just like from, because again, it's a still we can get away with this, just like this area in here, and just making that a little brighter. What do you think?
I will try to do so.
Good. Cool. All right, great. But yeah, no, it's coming together. It's going. You're right at the finish line here. All right. Cool. Great. Hey, Jordan. If you can speak. Hello. Good, buddy. Okay, so I think we've got, correct me if I'm wrong, but we've got everybody that is online right now, right? Am I missing anybody? Okay. So I'm going to go through the rest of them. At the end of each, I'll give a moment pause if anybody wants to add anything. I will try not to calling anybody out on the spot, but I might if I have questions. Anytime I do that, it's because I'm just like checking in to make sure that my eye isn't going crazy. So Alfredo, this was another submission from you. And again, I apologize for missing yours as well yesterday. So I do think that this structure works better. So the way that we were talking about doing this was putting her in shadow, allowing the bright light to be more of like the rim on her, and then allowing more influence of these pink lights onto the scene. I would also like to see maybe more of the pink light being thrown onto the walls too, just to kind of feel it. Like, because one of the things is like she's glowing, right? And she should affect the environment around her. So wherever she goes, there should be like this magenta haze that kind of follows her. You can see it subtly in some of this stuff. Like the shadow right around her feels a little bit more magenta, but I kind of want to see it more robustly on the walls around her. And again, not to go back to this one again, but yeah, like feeling like this level of her skin tone by like, I think you've got the richness in the darks. I just think it's a matter of getting more of those specular highlights in there. And then what else? In terms of, I'm also like, again, just for my weird thing, like I'm wondering if there's any way we can do, because again, like anytime you have a building like this, that's kind of, because again, we shifted her a little bit, that's kind of like penetrating the edge of her head. I'm wondering, maybe it's okay. Maybe I'm just being weird about it. I kind of want to push that line one way or the other. Maybe probably more this way, like make the building slightly smaller. And I'll let you play around with that. But I think I just feel like that's something I want to do. I do like how her foot's kind of blowing out down here. It is a little distracting that like that's so bright versus up here. I'm wondering if we couldn't like make a little bit more of that brightness around her head, or maybe pick this up as a stronger rim around the top of her and then tone that down just a touch. Does anybody else have anything for this?
Just looking at this, I'm not sure if you've already talked about it or not, or if it's what you want to go for, but the first thing I think of when I see her in that scene is light wrap and creating, I'm drawing with my finger on the
Yeah.
image. The top right where the building corner is,
Yeah.
at an angle down like that, kind of like a light gray.
Mm-hmm.
So that that top right corner is brighter, and then it gets slightly darker as it goes down.
So there's a grade going down this way?
No, I'm talking about in the background of the sky.
Oh, yeah.
Background.
Yeah, totally.
Brighter top right, darker down bottom left, because you have a bright light source on her forehead, top right, so that it ties it all in together. And light wrap. I mean, that would
Yeah.
be really beautiful because it's a bright scene back there.
Yeah. What do you guys think about putting it out of focus, like a little depth of field back there too? Because the buildings are a little simple in their geometry.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, I think adding a little depth of field will help too.
Yeah,
That's
well,
good.
depth of field would be great. Subtle though, you know.
Yeah, like 4 pixels or something. Pretty light.
What about moving her back? Sorry.
Go ahead.
Moving her back a little bit so you get more of a reflection instead of just the one leg.
Yeah, I wonder if you could even, wondering if there's a way to cheat that, like where you just slightly angle the building or something, or even just like fake the reflection in so that her reflection's more like back in here, you mean? Yeah, it'd be interesting.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe not all of her, but just a little bit more.
Yeah. Yeah, that's fair. Also, some of the dark points on the building over here feel very flashed, like they feel very lifted, and I'm wondering if we can't get a little bit of a little bit more darkness in the darker values. But I wonder if that, I mean, that's kind of the grittiness of the reflection too. But just like a little bit more darkness in there, I think would help. Also, it's interesting that the reflection color of the background is so different. Maybe this one should be a little bit brighter. What do you guys think? Like it feels like it's reflecting a very dark city, or is that just? Yeah, I'm just reading that
I
one.
would look at it should be more towards the sky's color in terms of the shadow. So the screen left is more of a magenta purpley, right?
Yeah.
The screen right's more of a yellowish. Is that what you're talking about?
No. For that last note, I was talking about the sky color and the reflection, and then I was also talking about the dark points closer to camera.
Yeah, no, totally. Those would want to be more towards, see the windows down in the center, like the lower bits of the backgrounds?
Yeah.
The lighter version of that.
Yeah. Cool. That'd be good. All right, cool. Let's go ahead and we got Diana. Emma we talked about. Hisham. This is cool. So if you guys haven't seen, he also has a daytime version of this. You've got some reference in here as well. And like lots of wet, rainy nighttime things. The cool thing about this stuff is that you have, like with nighttime and CG, you have a whole lot of value you can go with. I would actually push the background a little bit darker if it was me. Let's try that real quick. I'm going to pull the characters back in. Just because, like, I feel like there would be a little bit more, like, it might be a little saturated now, but like it just adds a little bit more richness to it. Pull back the saturation just a touch. But I think if it was me, that's kind of the direction I would go a little bit, just because it can make these guys pop a little bit more. I think you can, and I darken kind of universally, but it would make those lights back there be a little bit stronger. And then for the headlights on this car, it feels like I see the reflection of the lights, but I don't see the lights themselves. I would weigh more on like a bright white there and a bright red there, and then like this would be like half the value of that. But because like I can see and I like that we got like the long stretched out reflections, but I'm just not seeing the source as much. And I'm wondering if the specular on their skin looks really good. It's tough because I want their hair to clump a little more. But all in all, I think, but like this felt really good coming out of the gate. I'll open it up. What do you guys think?
You know what would be really great, because I think this is a great image that would kind of answer all of those things you just mentioned, is a really good depth pass. You can use that depth pass in the composite to control all of that.
Mm-hmm.
Just shift it to a white and black matte, you know?
Yeah.
And then you can also use that to grade the depth back, the black back, so that the lifted background and the green trees becomes more accurate across the whole scene.
Mm-hmm.
And your eye just allows that to go backwards in reality to the scene, I think. But a good depth pass that's shifted to a black and white matte will just control all that.
It's a great point.
The highlights you're talking about.
Yeah. And you may, I mean, you've got some depth of field in here, and you may already have it. It might just be a matter of utilizing that to get some color. The one thing that you want to watch out for with like if I was going to make a depth map from scratch, I would take out the characters out of it, because and just like have a control on the background, because I've always had a problem with internal edges sometimes on depth images. I don't know, Mike, if you've had similar, but the edges can get really gritty. So I would just like render the characters separately, render the background separately, use that Z depth to color correct since it's only affecting the background, and then pop the characters on top of it.
Yeah, you have to like basically take your depth map and break it out into multiple layers.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like you're creating the depth map as a whole, like visually, but then you're kind of distributing the different layers of that depth map to like each individual element. So like you said, you get those, especially where there's big gaps between geometry, you'll get those like internal edges without doing that breakout.
Yeah, it comes, those edges come really hard into a picture like this, where you have a foreground element that's super close to the camera, and the background element is actually far away. It doesn't know what to do with that. So you do have to separate the foreground off of the background and render the background separate in that case. Otherwise, the edges, especially new, will just kill you.
Yeah, they'll ruin your day. No, it's great. All right, let's welcome to. I'm always like hesitant if people don't put their names in the forums and if they want to stay anonymous, so I'll just call you Jumping Cloud for now. But you included this image of Bambi, and it's great for the first example. I love this film. I think it's artistically beautiful. I think the animation is incredible. And this is all the things that I love about it. The warm characters over the cooler background, allowing a little bit of since Thumper is similar in tone to the background color, allowing this little bit of brighter area to kind of creep around here to get him to read off of it is really good. And again, just like the beautiful abstract matte painting backgrounds are so cool in this film. And then all those glorious eye dings on all these different characters are all in a really nice 2 o'clock position, except for the owl. The owl didn't get any, but everybody else got those cute ones. Yeah, but welcome to the group. We're really excited to have you. And yeah, thanks for the contribution. This is great. All right, Justin, you are up next. So this is an update on your first Power of Light challenge. So this looks a lot better on the screen right side. Feels much more natural and more in alignment with what we're seeing there. Again, oh, not Bambi. We've got this light coming in here. That's represented here. I am wondering, so like some of this around the edge gets very dark, and I'm wondering if we couldn't just put in a little bit more of like an ambient, almost like a skylight into the scene just to kind of fill in some of these darks, and then I would call that a day from there. But I think this is much improved over the first iteration, and a really good job at hitting some notes there. Do you want to hop over into, we've got just a couple more. We've got Mindy and Luiz. All right, so Luiz, I think, yeah, this is, I'll open this one up right away. Do you guys have anything? Anything as we look at this one?
Great.
Yeah.
I mean, this is super picky, but that hole on the screen right side doesn't look like it's in the focus. Like the defocus, the rest of it.
Yeah.
But that looks really cool.
Yeah, it's really lovely. I would also darken the inside of the guitar, which again is a super nitpicky note. And then maybe tone down the subsurface on his hand. It looks like they're a little bit glowy in the screen left one. But yeah, other than that, I think it's great. I think it's really cool. Yeah.
Hey Michael, I gotta jump off here real quick.
Unforgivable. No, thanks, Mike. I'll talk to you soon, buddy. Bye. All right, and we'll finish off with Mindy here. So Mindy, using the attic, using our woman in the window, very cool. The first thing that stood out to me, again, we talked about this yesterday with this asset. We've seen this used a bunch of times, and now I love seeing it in all these different angles. Have never looked at it from like this perspective. But the one thing I do want to point out is and looking at all your reference, like this is pretty low to the ground. This is from like a human eye level. All of these are from like a human eye level. This one, I feel like I'm standing on a ladder, right? Like I'm up above her, I'm looking down on her. And it changes kind of the scale of the room a little bit. It makes it feel a little smaller. So I would, it's more of like an establishing shot look than we're kind of up in it. So I would encourage you to kind of just lower it down a little bit to her eye level. Cause I think that will help out. The three things I would like to see you work on for the next iteration. Number one, I want to soften this shadow a little bit. It's very, very hard edged, and as light's kind of coming through, like this feels later in the daylight. This feels late afternoon, maybe early morning, probably late afternoon. And that light starts to get a little diffused as light is passing through the atmosphere. And even though there isn't a window on this, I still feel like that this is a pretty hard edge for that. I would just increase the radius of that light, the setting of radius in that light in the interface, and that'll soften that a little bit. So that's number one. Number two is I think you can go brighter outside the window. I think all that stuff can go like a stop or two level up in exposure. I would also like to see the volumetric rays that are coming through, I'd like to see two things happen to those. Number one is I want to soften these lines a little bit. They're a little, again, like similar to this shadow. They're very sharp. And they also penetrate very deeply into the room all the way across her. And what that's doing is taking her dark values and lifting them up and allowing her to have less contrast. So like this area of the room over here has more contrast, and my eye actually kind of goes over there sometimes. So I want to see like a darker level on her, and you achieve that by cutting off the light rays so they kind of stop a little bit before they get to her. And yeah, and then I would start there, and then we could start taking a look at some other stuff. The other things would be like, her skin tone feels like could be a little bit warmed up, and more specular highlights in there, and then finding a way to get a little shaping on her hair would be a really good one too. But we can get there later. This is a good start. Like I said, I love the different angle that we have on it. I would just drop the camera down a little bit. Again, and it's more of like a super sensitive thing in CG. It's just like you want the audience to believe that there's actually a human being holding the camera, that you don't always feel in film. So feel free to ignore that if you want, but I do feel like it would feel a little more natural if we lowered it down a little bit. All right, that is it for you all today. Thank you guys so much for everything. We've got a nice clean hour there. Again, Monday I'll post about this. We're gonna do I'm gonna do written critiques on work, and then at this time Monday, it's 1 p.m. on the East Coast in New York. Whatever time it is locally as you're listening to this is what time Jasmine and I are gonna hop on, and we're gonna talk because we're hoping to develop a workshop intensive for people looking to start applying for jobs, and like it would be like ways we can help you build your demo reel, website, resume, cover letter, all that stuff that can be daunting and scary and suck about applying for jobs. Figure out a way to build something that can make that easier for all of you. So we just want to hear feedback, because I know the parts of it that I don't like, and I want to hear the parts of it that you don't like, and so that we can hopefully build something to help a lot of people. So until then, I will talk to you guys. Have a great weekend. Keep lighting, keep doing amazing things, and I will see you all very, very soon. All right. Happy lighting, everybody.